Hi, everyone, and welcome to the TrustBIX live corporate webinar. This is Will Mays from RB Milestone. TrustBIX provides agri-food traceability and chain of custody value solutions. The company is addressing evolving consumer demands for sustainable agri-food products and is emerging as one of the most trusted and largest source of responsible supply chain information globally. The shares are traded on the TSXV under the symbol TBIX and on the OTCQB under the symbol TBIXF. Joining us today is the company's CEO, Hubert Lau, who will be going through TrustBIX investor presentation. This will include a brief overview of the company's strategy and current operations, as well as upcoming operational timeline and investment milestones. At the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for questions for management to address. If you're interested in asking a question or are logged into the Zoom app or web platform, you can submit your questions to us directly in the Q&A module. Please note that this presentation is being recorded today, Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, and will soon be made available on the company's website at www.trustbix.com. Today's call may contain forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results, performance, or developments to differ materially from those contained in the statements and are not guarantees of future performance of the company. No assurance can be given that any of these events anticipated by forward-looking statements will occur, or if they do occur, what benefits the company will obtain from them. Also, some risks and uncertainties may be out of control of the company. TrustBIX has a full disclaimer contained in this presentation. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit rbmilestone.com. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Hubert Lau, Chief Executive Officer of TrustBIX. Hubert, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Will, for that wonderful introduction. And I want to thank everyone who's joining us this morning in our webinar so that I can take a few minutes to share with you our company. And I welcome the Q&A afterwards. So as we had mentioned, TrustBIX is traded on the TSX Venture as TBIX and the OTCQB as TBIXF. We are a gate-to-plate solution for supply chain traceability and ESG metrics validations. So we've already covered the disclaimer. So what are we? TrustBIX has we provide on-site and remote supply chains, technologies, and agri-food industry solutions. Again, our registered trademark gate-to-plate. And through our BIX solution, the business info exchange solution, we strive to create a world where we trust more, waste less, and reward sustainable behavior. And I'll go into the BIX platform a little bit more and the modules a little bit more, but just a quick, there's three modules: Insight, Impact, and Origin. What are the challenges we're trying to address? Well, from the producers or farmers side, quite often they don't want to share information because they're being asked to work harder, they're being questioned, and there's no incentives for them to participate in disclosing more information. And there's very few avenues for farmers to be able to make more money in the quality products that they produce. And there's no real system to allow them to share information, even if they wanted to. And just generally, there is a lack of incentives for them to participate in many of the great ideas and solutions that are being created at supply chain level. And so what do we supply as TrustBIX is we increase market access and sales volume for corporations to have their strategic sourcing and to be able to engage the farmers, which then leads to increased revenue through brand and product claims. As well, for the focus of ESG related solutions, we need technology that can help supply that those type of execution of ESG related metrics and measurements at a supply chain level. We supply that as well. And of course, as you get more and more data, we are always looking at how to benchmark whether it's individual operations or against their peers so that the farmers can continue to grow their business. From a corporation standpoint, many of their challenges is that the stakeholders and customers today are also demanding more scrutiny, more proof of what they're doing. And that has led to the drive of the ESG metrics. So that's the environment, social, governance metrics. And where we come in is helping corporations looking at the whole supply chain, not just within their organization. And quite often corporations are wanting to do more, but they don't have the visibility on their complex supply chain that could go across the country or worldwide even. And there's really no way to validate the provenance and claims on some of the products. So what does TrustBIX provide? We provide that measurement of ESG progress as they move towards their targets to answer their stakeholder and consumer demands. We provide the validation so that it can gain consumer trust in the product and brand. In terms of strategic sourcing, so as a company wants to source specific products for certain attributes so that they can sell it, we can find those for them and help them tell the story of the provenance. So just a quick investor highlight, why TrustBIX? One is we are a leader in sustainability verification and the future of ag tech. We are in a multi-billion growth market. And so, and we all know that food is extremely important right now and always, because we all need to eat. ESG is at its core. We are a proven and scalable technology platform, and we have an experienced leadership team. So just a quick highlight of our leadership team is that everyone here has built and exited multiple businesses over the years. And so it is as we like to joke internally, it is the oldest startup team that we've ever had, but is also the most experienced because they have built and exited successfully multiple times. In terms of our board of directors, we cover all areas of governance, from the financial industry to technology to sustainability, finance, and entrepreneurship. Our advisory board really helps us look at things from the offensive side of the equation. So how do we grow our business? Whereas the board looks at the governance, the defense, and to make sure that we're doing things right and setting our directions. Our advisory board is structured with experienced individuals who helps us look at our business in a way of how do we go into the offense and grow our business. So far in our journey, as of today, some of the key metrics that we look at is since 2014, our BIX system has tracked an estimated $22 billion of retail value. We have done over 240 million pounds of sustainable beef since 2017, 15 million plus cattle tracked on our system in US and Canada, and we create about 20 million hogs a year globally. And in our journey, as you can see here, is that we started really in 2015. We were the technology that allowed McDonald's to be the first company in the world to try and prove if it was possible to verify sustainable beef production in their supply chain. And in doing so, it created a whole journey from that not only can we do it with the BIX system, but the BIX system can also track across not just the sustainability, but also help create financial incentives by moving retail and private industry money as a financial incentive back to the producers. And we issued the financial benefit every quarter to all qualifying producers. Along the way, we went public. We expanded ourselves into different areas beyond beef so that we're into different food sectors, as well as converting or tracking waste products into high quality reusable products for food production. In 2019, we went public on the TSX Venture. And recently we have re-signed agreements with Cargill, which is one of the largest food companies in the world, as well as JBS, which is one of the largest protein processor in the planet. And in the beginning of 2022, we completed our first acquisition, which is Insight Global Technologies. Where are we in terms of market growth? Well, according to Polaris Research as well as Deloitte, we're well positioned in an industry that is going from about 18 billion to 35 billion by 2029. So in less than 10 years, it would almost double in size. So our mission is to address evolving customer demands and become the most trusted and largest source of responsible global supply chain information. Our business model, how do we make money? Well, there's our legacy businesses as well as our growth business. Our legacy business comes from our wholly owned division called ViewTrack Technologies. And ViewTrack is our upstream and midstream solution for the ag industry. And most of these are on-site solutions that helps producers, auctioneers, and so forth to run a stronger business. Our growth business is the Business Info Exchange System, or BIX for short. And BIX is our proprietary platform that integrates, then validates, aggregate, and then report on supply chain ESG metrics. And supply chain ESG metrics could be viewed as things like sustainability. So sustainability, what we've learned is that they are a combination of different ESG metrics for supply chains that creates the claim. So when we're talking about sustainability, we know that they're tied into ESG, but as well, to have sustainability or ESG thing, we must have chain of custody and traceability built in. And to make sure that the producers are participating, the retailers and buyers are also at the table and getting their benefits, we have combined our innovative ideas and solutions so that we can create incentives through the participants of BIX. So again, our three modules, Insight, Impact, and Origin, and I'll go into that in a minute. So where are we in terms of target markets? We're already playing in beef, plant-based proteins, cereal crops, pulse crops, and biochar. Where we are going to be doing more and in pilot phase will be poultry, pork, carbon, and energy. So let's talk about Insight. Insight is really our first acquisition, and what attracted us to this acquisition is that we really needed a IoT device or Internet of Things device that we can use to track more information on the supply chains as products being moved. At the same time, what we realized is that it really could prevent theft and in inventory in products for the producers and anyone in the supply chain. So this has been a very nice add-on to our existing solutions of what we've been doing with companies like Cargill and JBS, McDonald's, so forth. So BIX Origin is where we really look at the, where we look at the origination of the traceability and validation of the ESG and product claims. And so what we do is we can aggregate inventory from vendors and provide the traceability. We also provide a QR code at the end and the downstream so that the purchasers or the corporate buyers have more information that they can show to those that are involved. And then finally, of course, our whole model behind this will be a SaaS model, of which is either on a licensing or the value that we create. BIX Impact measures the impact of what we're tracing. So when you're talking about sustainable practices, well, how's that impacting the overall benefit for everyone involved? So this is where we add on ESG standard compliance, verification, certifications, labeling. We aggregate the sustainability metrics such as energy, water, and the carbon intensity per unit or per operation. And again, it is based on a SaaS model so that we can continue to grow our business, our revenue, and our profitability. Competition, we see in terms of competition, there are different competitors in different sectors of food, but those who can be in multiple sectors, we looked at it as a whole and identified 4 competitors: Proficient Analytics, GTS, ICE, Trace, Fresh, and Source Trace. And what we have done is a comparison of what their products are able to do versus ours. And interesting enough, even though they are competitors, both Proficient Analytics and GTS, we work very closely with and often partner on solutions together. So in terms of our growth strategy for the remainder of this year and also to next year is three main things. We are going to continue to focus on ESG metrics and claims in North America. So it'll be in the protein products, the crop products, including plant-based proteins, the waste value added products such as biochar, and carbon intensity measurements. The second focus will be on high growth and high margin revenue streams. And that's really on the SaaS model, so the BIX side of our equation. And we really want to continue to push subscription licensing for the participants, as well as the value generated billings and fees. And then finally, the focus on acquisition, growing our company through looking at accretive opportunities, as well as especially smaller technology companies that are more siloed. So they're solving a solution, but they're siloed and they need to hook themselves into supply chain plays. And that's where we play, is the supply chain level. So if they're siloed and we can pull them in and they're accretive, they would be an ideal target for us. In terms of our objectives, so Q3, which was end of June of 2022, we had looked at, continuing to look at acquisitions, onboarding new customers, looking at, the where do we sign up new customers within the Insight program. As well, we had launched the BIX Impact modules and the BIX Origin modules. In Q4, which is from June to September of this year, we will continue to look at different acquisitions, maintain the ViewTrack revenue, because that's our current base revenue, and try and continue to onboard more customers and sign up more pilots. And then for next year, really is to close more M&As, do modest growth in our base revenue stream with ViewTrack, and then really looking at tripling our revenues in the BIX platforms through Insight, Impact, and Origin. So what is our share metrics right now? So right now we are very well, we're value stock. We feel that we're undervalued right now at 3.5 cents based on a number of market factors, as well as delays in some of the contracts that have been coming in for us. And so our market cap is 2.79 mil. And what I want to kind of highlight is that management and board ownership is about 8%, and insiders and close associates wrap up another 50+%. So just going back one more time in terms of investor highlights, we are scaling up because we are a proven technology. So we are not doing more R&D. We're all about scale up in the agri-tech on gate-to-plate solutions. Every time we move into a new food sector, we are creating new revenue streams for ourselves that are recurring as well as one time. We're going to, in terms of our sales effort, is really leveraging our existing base of customers, users, partners, and data sources. ESG is in our core because we find that companies more and more need to have their ESG metrics figured out. They need to have it measured. And when it comes to supply chain level, they're quite often stuck without a solution, and we can provide that. TrustBIX is also looking at further acquisitions as part of our goal and targets for next year. And we are in a multi-billion-dollar growth market. So once more, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. And now I'm open for question and answer.
Well, thank you, Hubert. That was a very thorough and insightful presentation. We're now going to move to the Q&A portion of the webinar. If you're interested in asking a question or logged into the Zoom app or web platform, you can submit your questions to us directly in the Q&A module. We'll now take a moment to develop a queue. We have had some questions come in, so let's just get started here, Hubert. Sure. The first one is, are you using blockchain in your process?
Well, we do have blockchain designed into our process. And the way we had designed it from day one is that we knew we didn't want to just do business in Canada. We want to be in the US. and in foreign countries such as China and so forth. And using China as an example, we know that they have their own rules and I'll call them recommendations of blockchain technology and so forth. So the BIX platform is designed so that it can be interoperable with different technology solutions and providers. And we are also very cognizant of energy usage efficiency so that we only use blockchain when it's necessary. And we know that it's not one size fit all. You can't use one tool to do everything. So blockchain is one of many tools that we can use within our BIX platform.
Great, thank you. I know you went over this in the presentation, but maybe it's worth reiterating. Who are some of your competitors in the space?
Well, the competitors I had, I'm going to just pull that screen back up here really quick. In terms of competition, these are the main competitors that we really focus and keep an eye on. And our team's always comparing ourselves and them. And like I said, they do multi-industries. They have different functions, different strengths and weaknesses. We often try to learn from each other what we do. And like I said, in regards to Provision and GTS, we actually have collaborated with them and continue to collaborate with many of them.
Great. What type of technologies or companies are you looking to acquire?
Really what we're looking at is small tech companies where they have developed a solution in the agri-food space that solves a problem, but they are having problems scaling up because they're kind of siloed into just the area that they work within. And what we are looking at is, can we pull them into as part of our supply chain solution to measure ESG metrics and so forth? And by acquiring them, are they accretive or could they generate revenue for us fairly quickly?
Great, thanks. And this sort of leads into the next question, which is, are you interested in partnerships and JVs?
Oh, heck yeah. The whole BIX solution is designed, and the reason why we talk about the integration, validation, aggregate, and reporting is all designed about partnerships. And so how do you collaborate and work with others? Sometimes it's a JV, sometimes partnership, sometimes acquisition, sometimes revenue share, licensing agreements. So all of those are important to us. And we look at it on a case-by-case basis to see how we can create a win-win-win solution. So win for them, win for us, and of course, win for the industry.
Great. So could you give us a brief breakdown of your revenues and geographic basis?
Yeah, on a geographic basis, it fluctuates a bit year to year, but kind of the general rule that we do see is that about 60% of our revenue is generated in Canada, 30% in the US, and 10% worldwide. Great.
And then maybe if you would discuss your channel sales and sales force.
Sure. So the approach that we have is that first off is because what we're doing is fairly new to the industry and it takes some learning, is that we really drive as step one pilot or proof of concept within a supply chain. But we're also looking when we're doing that is that the end buyer is already at the table so that we know that if the proof of concept and the pilot is successful, the chance of commercialization is very high because the end buyer is at the table from day one. So once we're done a pilot phase, in which we have multiple pilots going on right now, is that we move into commercialization. And in commercialization, we want to look for channel partners. We want to look for groups that will bring the customers on, so that it's not our team that calls one customer at a time, because that growth is very slow. But what we do want to have as TrustBIX is that frontline support. And the reason for that is that we want to have a direct relationship with the users of our system who, what we're tracking matters to them. And we want to build a relationship with them, hear their feedback so that we can make modifications and adjustments into our solutions and our product and services. As well as that, we find builds loyalty, because at the end of the day, it is still people doing business with people, and we want to have that interaction on a regular basis with everyone.
Great. And I had a question come in here on the acquisitions that you had completed earlier this year. What's it been the experience so far?
Well, that was our first acquisition. And we're very happy with the acquisition in the sense that we like the technology, we like the solution. And we have 3 pilots going on right now with different customers. And just like what I mentioned earlier, always have the end customers there when you're running pilots. They're giving us feedback. So we're making technology improvements both on the devices as well as the software. And we're adding some extra functionalities in. Had a meeting with our team yesterday, the Insight team yesterday. And so they're looking at that by October, so next month, we're going to be in full sales mode. So, and actually, I want to add that we're still targeting the earnouts, which from the acquisition terms, which is that there is an opportunity to earn out up to 20 million shares, which is on escrow right now, for if we hit $1 million in sales by March of next year.
Very good. Thank you for that. Another question here. The capital that is being allocated to being a public company, how is that? How are you managing that? And that follows into, have you thought about, taking the company private?
Well, you know what? Let's talk about the first part of your question. And I would say that when we first started, it was up to maybe $800,000 a year just to stay public, and it was very expensive. But there was a lot of things to do when we first became public. Where we got now is we've really been working on how to reduce our professional services fees, looking at different service providers, changing them over. So looking at our financials, the end of third quarter in our financials, we had about $300,000 was to stay public. So if you kind of factor that out, about $1 million a year. And that 300,000 includes the year-end audit of last year, because that's built on first quarter of this year. So that includes the annual audit already.
Very good.
Oh, and the second part, like you did, sorry, in terms of private, really, we have talked about that, at the directors level, and really the decision is that it's not worth entertaining. And let me just give a quick reason why. It takes a lot of time, energy, and money to go private, because you still got legal bills and so forth. And currently, from what we know, we have, definitely over 1,000, and I suspect thousands of shareholders. So for us to be able to slim it down to less than 50 shareholders will be extremely difficult. And if we're going to be over 50 shareholders, we will still be then we'll become a non-reporting issuer. As a non-reporting issuer, you still have audit fees, you still have governance and diligence that you must do based on the rules of running a non-reporting issuer. So the savings is marginal, especially given that we've reduced our overhead already. And if we went after that, 2 things will happen. One is we're going to take our eyes off the ball, which is we should be generating revenue. And number 2 is that once we become a private company, we really hurt ourselves in the sense that we're going to lose access to capital. And one of the strengths of being a public company is the access of capital and having that full disclosure so that everyone knows what you're doing and how you're growing the business. So we rather focus on revenue growth and continue to learn and improve our business as a public company.
Very good. I'm going to combine a couple of questions here into one, because they're really driving at the same idea. And it's really what, as far as cash flow generation, preservation, cost-cutting measures, maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this fiscal year has been tough because many of the revenues that we were anticipating to be in are delayed, and based on the current market conditions, the high inflation, increased interest rates, the war in Ukraine and Russia, it has affected the markets in general. So they're more skittish and so forth. So So we're getting a double whammy there. The first one is our market price is down. Number two is revenue is delayed. So cutting costs definitely was top of mind to extend our company's cash reserves. So we have reduced, continue to look at reducing our professional services and fees. We're renegotiating many of our fixed expenses. So for instance, rent. We've laid off some staff already, and we're moving more and more of our staff and leadership team are moving into a model of cash and shares instead of just cash for their annual compensation. And the bonuses that we have structured is also really focused on more shares than cash, because what we want to do is make sure that everyone who continues to work in the company is vested and focused in the growth and the health of the company. So the other things that's extremely important to us is really focusing on revenue generation. And because you can only cut costs to a certain extent, and then there's nothing else to cut without killing the company. So where we're looking at now is the largest impact is to focus on bringing the delayed contracts into signed contracts into generating revenue as fast as possible and scale that revenue. And then other opportunities that we're looking at is to keep that speed and momentum on it and not let up. I won't hide the fact that the financial situations of the company is extremely tight. There is revenue generation is the focus. We're not looking at more R&D anymore because we've released our products. Right now is sales and marketing time.
Fantastic. And I think we covered that all. I guess lastly, the last question here, we'll run up against time, is maybe you could provide some of the key milestones investors should be looking out for, and essentially, why now and why TrustBIX?
Yeah, and that's a fantastic question to end it. Why now? Why TrustBIX? Really, what it comes down to is based on current market conditions. We are attractively valued right now. If I win a lottery tomorrow, I'll put it into TrustBIX because it's such a great, it's good value. I believe in the company, and the ESG solutions is what companies around the world needs today. Because if you look at it, you've got situations like HSBC or Deutsche Bank where there was ESG funds that were not tracked properly, that they didn't have the metrics. And what we see is at the supply chain level, it is critical, and we have the solution for those, and we're getting the word out for that. So we have the right solution for the companies right now that needs it. We're very attractively valued. And right now we're in an important time of our growth cycle. R&D is done. We've got pilots that are coming to an end and moving into commercialization. And the team is really focused on sales and marketing. And we have already implemented what we wanted for cost reduction. And even as we were reducing our staff, some of them want to come back as contractors so that as we need their expertise, they want to be there for us, but they have absolutely no problems understanding that we had to cut our costs back and that they were the ones that were asked to help us with those by lightening the ship. Even those staff or former staff continues to invest into TrustBIX. And I think if you look at it, if the internal team is that vested, they want more shares than cash. Those who left the company to help lighten the ship continues to focus on looking at ways to help the company. I think this is a really exciting company to look at as an investor.
Well, thanks, Hubert. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today's webinar. The webinar recording will soon be made available on TrustBIX website. And if questions that were not addressed here, feel free to send them over to us at RBMG, at TrustBIX at rbmilestone.com. Again, that's TrustBIX at rbmilestone.com. And thanks, everybody. That concludes our webinar today. Thanks again, Hubert.
Bye-bye.